So guys, welcome to another mid-weekly outlook. I'll go over some main pairs that I'm looking for based on fundamentals, based on technicals, and I'll see if we can catch any possible setups for the rest of the week. So what setup did we already catch? Well, this one here on the USD index, a beautiful short here from this liquidity and its weekly open. How did we take it? Well, fundamentally, there are high expectations of a rate cut in December, but also Hassett is probably going to become the new Fed chair because Trump will probably select him, and he's somebody who will probably do a lot of rate cuts in 2026, and this is already driving the price of the dollar down lower, as you can see. So we first had created equals, right? So at the beginning of the week, I already took a beginning position, but then we created equal lows here at the previous monthly low, where we already had equal lows. So we basically had triple lows, and these were just very, very weak for me. Why did we came back? I didn't see any reason for that on a fundamental basis. So for me, that was just manipulation, grabbing liquidity above all of the early buyers at the beginning of the week and the month, and from there we go down lower. So this was one of the better setups this week, and now you now have this supply here, which also takes out liquidity, and this is also following the immediate order flow into the downside. So from this immediate supply, I want to also go look and go further down lower, even all the way down to this low. So we gotta wait for confirmation, of course, and we gotta wait to see what are the fundamentals going to be in order to keep on shorting the DXY this week. But mainly inside this supply, I look for further shorts. On the yen, we had seen a big push here at the beginning of the week, as you can see. Boom. Why was this the case? Well, because Ueda had a speech where he mentioned that they were probably going to do some rate hikes. But then we had some government bonds who still at this level of, or I think it was maybe this bond. Yeah, so this bond, you can see it's at 1%, and there was still a lot of demand even when it was at 1%. So basically, that caused the yen to dump down lower again, because even at that level, there was still a lot of demand, which is pushing the yen down lower. So right now, in my opinion, with all of that demand, I just see the yen kind of ranging, because yes, we're going to rate hike, but there's also still a lot of demand for it. So because of that, I just see like sideways price action on the yen, and not really going to trade the yen at the moment. I want to see a more clear way of price action and also more development on the fundamentals. So looking at UJ, we also had beautiful shorts at the beginning of the week here, which I also took on top of these liquidities. I went out. Why? Again, because of those yen auctions, and just overall I want to quickly be out of this because the yen is not really that bullish. Overall, I think if you take now and next year, I think definitely there will be bullish price action on the yen, so we will be more bullish. But as of now, it's still weak, right? So it is possibly, in my opinion, going to strengthen the yen, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be this week, this month, or next month, right? It could also be in 3 months or 4 months before the yen actually starts gaining some traction. So looking at UC Swiss, again, also beautiful shorts here after this for our fractal here. Boom, like this, stop loss above the 4-hour fractal and just trade down low for a 1 to 3. Didn't catch this one myself, to be honest, but this one was a beautiful setup, just trading down lower towards these lows here and this quarterly level. So we can definitely still trade down lower like this because of that bearish dollar, so from this supply. But the Swiss franc has seen 0% inflation, which is very weak for the currency, and that's why I'm also not going to trade some Swiss pairs at the moment, and I'll stay out of them. We then have USD CAD, which also dumped down lower, of course, because of a neutral CAD and a bearish dollar. So, of course, we traded down lower for the past couple of weeks. Now, if you look at it from a technical perspective here, if I go to the daily time frame or even weekly time frame, you can see that you're just overall bullish, right? If you look at it, so fundamentally for the past couple of months, you should also be bullish as well, but that's not really the case. So yes, the Canadian dollar is also quite weak, which is pushing this up higher. But mainly why I'm not going to short this one is because technically it just aligns to trade up higher. As you can see, overall, just continuing the order flow up higher and higher, and you can just continue to take those long setups. So I'm not going to take shorts because of that, and I want to first break, for example, this low to then create that overall supply, and then from there trade down lower. Then I'll take shorts based on a fundamental and technical bias. But right now the fundamentals are bearish for me, so will I take longs in line with the technicals? Of course I will not. So this one is basically nothing, and I'm just going to wait on more development. Then we have USD-NOK, one of the best setups that I've seen in a long time. So technically you can see that the structure is bearish. You got a retracement and you took some liquidity here. You then saw like this channel being created, which is basically a correction pattern in order to then trade down lower. So if I then go to the 4-hour time frame, you can then see, well, after that last trend line touch, basically we don't really trade trend lines again, but that's just something to notice. It's like a reversal pattern. So here we then see the fractal break into the downside. You could have already entered like this, or maybe on top of this refined supply, something like this was also possible, trading it towards this low. But over here you also had this supply, for example, where you also could have just entered on, just following again the overall order flow down lower in order to just see further downside like this. And then now what I'm waiting for is a tap back into that monthly open inside this supply and then trade down lower. So why is this such a good setup? Well, technically, as you saw, it aligns very beautifully with now the fundamentals, with that bearish dollar and the bullish Norwegian crown, which is absolutely beautiful. And I think definitely maybe this week, but I'm guessing next week we'll hit these lows here. So going over to Euro USD, again, beautiful push up higher, beautiful longs on top of this demand. Just trading towards this liquidity here. Although, like I mentioned, I see further dollar downside, so we could definitely start trading towards this quarterly level, in my opinion. So what I'll try to do, or what I will look for, is possibly this liquidity, because the monthly level is there, and from here see like a change of character, and then I'll trade towards the quarterly if the fundamentals on the dollar are still bearish. Now this one is quite tricky, because if you look on the daily, your order flow or your immediate order flow is still bearish. This supply and control, and this could also push you down all the way down lower. But again, if you now look at it from a structure perspective, your structure bullish, you made the retracement, and now if this was the overall bullish move, right, then here we can again have this bullish move, and this here then was your corrective price action. Let me give that another color. Okay, so I know the colors are not the best at the moment. I hope you guys can see it. But basically you had the impulsive phase, you then had the correction, and now again I see impulsive phase, definitely with the fundamentals as well. So something that I'm looking out for, and that's why I will probably still take the long setups if they provide me with any setup. So now this demand for me is in control. Again, I'll wait for that monthly open. From there, again, I'll try to long into that quarterly at least. And I think it could even go towards this high, and in the future, possibly even that high. So looking at some other pairs on the euro, the only one that I am looking for is Euro GBP. So what did we see here for this week? We had a push first and then a push down lower. Why that push down lower? Because the pound seemed to have had a big push, but fundamentally I don't have any reason for that at the moment. Probably I missed something, but that's just something which I'm looking for. I'm trying to read a lot of articles to see what's up and to also update you guys. But overall, you're inside this demand zone. You have the quarterly level here, and from here I just want to trade up higher again. This was kind of consolidation, and now I'm just looking to trade up higher towards these weekly highs here, which we still need to take out. So just from this amount, right? So what I'll try to look for, again, the order flow first needs to be bullish. So here I would prefer to take out this liquidity because that's like daily liquidity at this quarterly level. And then from here, or just right now, because you're also inside this amount as well, if we switch the order flow, for example, break this high, get a retracement, I will possibly take the long towards this high and those weekly highs, because the euro, in my opinion, is still stronger than the pound. So if I look at GBPUSD, well, big push into the upside. Now I'm looking for this liquidity. From here I look for a 4-hour change of character in order to try to take a short setup. But actually that's just purely based on the pound. If you look at the dollar is also still bearish. So will I take the short setup? Probably not. Okay, so looking at the daily here, it just looks very, very clean to take those short setups from this overall supply, and inside this supply you can then take liquidity to then push down lower again. But again, we gotta see more development on the dollar than just short the pound against an also weak dollar as well, right? So looking at anything other interesting is GBPNZD. Definitely one of the most interesting pairs here. So we have seen a very big uptrend, but now we know the pound was already weak, but the NZD was weaker than the pound, right? But right now the NZD is gaining some strength. What reason? Well, because they're going from like an easing cycle to a tightening cycle. Instead of cutting rates, they're going to go to hiking rates, or at least they mentioned that, and that's already given the NZD some strength. Hence why you see this big push into the downside. So right now you have created a lot of liquidity here above these highs. So basically what we want to do is prefer to see this high taken and this supply tapped, and from here see that downside. Or what also could happen is this liquidity here at the quarterly level, and then from here see downside as well. So again, I don't know why, but you see it every single time. Corrective price action, and now we can take out the whole low here, and it also aligns with the fundamentals as well. Looking at something else is GBPNOK. So GBPNOK, when I go to the weekly time frame, yeah, you can just clearly see that the order flow is just bearish, and from this supply you can just continue to trade down lower. So that's what I'm looking for. Of course, now here we have this supply as well, which we perfectly tapped, and from here again, what did we see? Well, we broke the daily fractal. Where is the daily fractal? That's here underneath this red candle. We broke it. Now you have this supply here in control. So with that, I'm now looking to trade down lower all the way towards this swing low, of course. So over here, this now is your supply zone, right? And then I'm looking to take this entry, for example. I mean, this one is very, very big. I don't know why, but it's like 1,000 pip stop loss. So this is very big. Maybe it's a swing that I will take, and I try to take scalings in between. But it's definitely something interesting that I'm watching. And the entries and like on top of that supply and on top of 1 hour liquidity. Now this is no signal at all. You need to do your own research. That's just something that I'm looking for, and possibly I won't even take it. Okay, I still gotta look at it. If I want to be in a swing for so long, or if I want to just wait for a fractal in order to then enter. So on AUD USD, we have seen that consolidation for a very long time, but the Bank of America has mentioned that they're looking for AUD USD to drop all the way down towards the 0.63 level. Okay, and the reason for that is because of the China economy being very, very weak, and probably it's going to bring the AUD down as well, because they are very correlated. Okay, so this is obviously a possibility that you can do, but again, that's purely fundamental, because if you look otherwise than fundamentals, you're just consolidating. Now You've created a lot of liquidity at the lows, but it doesn't mean you need to take it out right now. It could also be like that, okay? So AUD at the moment has seen a big push. I think risk on sentiment. Now overall, I still view the AUD down lower. Of course, I think next week there is going to be a rate hike, but after that I see rate pauses, probably going to bring down the AUD. So from next week I'll start to look at AUD shorts in line with that news of the China economy and the Bank of America mentioning it. So here AUD NZD. Now if we have the AUD, which is probably in the future going to be pausing rates in my opinion, and then we have the NZD, which is probably going to be hiking rates because they mentioned that and they won't lie for no reason. So for that reason, I'm looking at AUD NZD shorts. If you look at immediate order flow and immediate structure, well, here is the premium versus discount from the immediate downside move. Looking to tap that, stop loss above the move here, and then just trade down lower towards this liquidity, for example. Those are very, very beautiful shorts that I'm eyeing. Overall, again, this is no single at all, right? I just want to show you what I'm looking for. So those are basically the main ones that I'm eyeing. All the other ones are not really A++. Now NZD/USD is A+, but we gotta see a pullback, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but I want to see a pullback inside this demand, taking out all of these lows here, and then from there see a 4-hour fractal change to trade all the way up to here. So that's ultimately my goal in the future, and I'll try to long that towards that price action there. Okay, so I don't know what that is, guys. That's just something, but okay. Here we have gold. So gold, I know a lot of you guys are looking to long this one, but what did we see? October, a dump, take liquidity, push up, pull back, push up, break above this, and look at this. All right, so this looks very interesting. A lot of people are looking to go long like this. Now I gotta show you something, and here, right? So that's the beginning of this year. You can see again, October, push down lower, grab liquidity, push up higher, pull back, push above the high. That's where we're at right now. And then you see the manipulation underneath the low, and from there we go up higher. So keep that in mind when longing, because it suspiciously looks exactly the same as previous year. So yeah, don't get caught up in any unnecessary losses there. So copper, of course, is rising, fundamentally very, very bullish. Didn't see any possible entries, so that's why I'm not in them, which is unfortunate. Now, looking at US oil, I definitely see upside here for this week, but there's also possibility of downside, of course. So we have Russia talking with the US about a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, of course. And if that happens, then that means that oil is probably going to trade down lower again. Why? Because then there will be more demand for Russian oil, because Ukraine is focusing on the Russian oil at the moment. And if there is a peace deal, well, of course, then there's still more oil and more demand for oil as well. So on Russia's oil, right? So US oil will then probably fall because there's less demand than for US oil. Now, why am I then looking at longs? Well, because of the Venezuela like implications with the US, which is quickly getting out of hand basically. And if there is going to happen something, then probably this will push, like give a big candle like we saw over here, for example, in towards these highs here and the previous quarterly level to take out all of these highs, which technically also aligns. If I look at the weekly, like we took some liquidity, and overall this seems like to be a very strong level which we cannot break through. And we also have bullish order flow respecting all of the lows, so I'm definitely looking for upside from here. So that's why I'm looking for US oil longs as well. So what I'll try to wait for in order to take an actual long is this high, for example, to get taken, then a little pullback, and maybe something like this, stop loss, and then here, and just trading it like this, something like that. But I'll again keep you guys updated. probably be for next week even, because it's already Thursday, so we have 2 more days. But we gotta see what happens, because US oil could start moving really really fast. So that was it for today, guys. I hope you have now some ideas for the future, and I'll see you guys on Sunday again. Ciao.